Most respected Thai, dear sisters, if there are any brothers, I don't know, but if there are, and brothers, good morning. Today is the 29th of September in the year 2020, and we are in the Lower Hamlet, the Dharma Nectar Temple, the Assembly of Stars Meditation Hall. Last week we were talking about the gathas, the practice of gathas. And I thought that it might be an idea to have a gatha of the week. That means every week we can have a gatha. And especially for those of us who practice not in Vietnamese, practice in French or in English, that you have a chance to be able to put the gatha into your own words in such a way that it's easy to practice and that it comes up very naturally from your stored consciousness without you having to use a lot of mental effort, because the idea of practicing uninterruptedly for the whole day, as long as you're awake, is the idea that it shouldn't use the practice shouldn't use a lot of mental effort. There's a little bit of an echo with this microphone. Yeah, I think we need to change it a little bit. And can somebody, that's better. And can somebody put the orchid a little bit lower down so I can see my sisters on my left-hand side? Thank you. Oh, it's very beautiful. Okay, good. Thank you. So, this week's gatha is folding your blanket, making your bed in the early morning. So, the first thing is when we're doing something and we're not being mindful, we ask ourselves the question, what are you doing? And then we can give ourselves an answer that we wouldn't give to Thai, but we might give ourselves, and that is, I'm folding my blanket. And then you might ask another question, why are you doing it? And when you ask, why are you folding your blanket, you don't say, because I want to have a folded blanket, but you say, I'm folding my blanket in order to feel joy. I'm folding my blanket to feel peace in the present moment. I'm folding my blanket to be really present, something like that. And so that is why in the gatha we say, I'm folding my blanket to feel joy. And really we do feel the joy when we fold our blanket, because we can still stand up, we can still get up in the morning, we can enjoy the feeling of the blanket, we have a blanket to fold. I remember when Thai talked about his novicehood, Thai said they didn't have blankets. Thai had to use the raffia mat, the mat, in order to be able to keep warm in the cold weather. So we have joy when we see that we have blanket. We're still able to stand there and fold it. And then the next line is about not only keeping our bed tidy, but living in such a way that we feel order in our life. And we know that when we feel order in our life, we feel peaceful. You may remember that before you became a nun, you had to go to school or you had to go to work. And often in the morning you had really in a rush and nothing was really in order. You just did as quickly as you could whatever you had to do. And you didn't feel that sense of order in your life. But now that you've come into the monastery, you can do things in a leisurely and orderly way. You feel that your life is you have the Sangha schedule to follow, you feel your life is in order. You can easily put your life in order, and of course that also brings you joy. And the next bit is about guarding our body and mind. Literally it says something like constraining, or not constraining, restraining our body and our mind. It's also something to do with keeping our life in order, not allowing our thoughts and our bodily actions to go out of us in a way that is not beautiful, not wholesome, but keeping our mind and body together. And afflictions, bit by bit, they may not all fall away at the same time, but they will bit by bit come to an end if we keep this practice. So that also is very encouraging for us. And when we practice gathas, don't think about the future. I know that in gathas we often say, I vow to do something. And we think about the future, but really we should be dwelling in the present moment, which means that we feel right now the afflictions are falling away. We don't have to wait for the future. You know that the practice of gathas, it comes from, originally, I don't know if it probably goes back to the Buddha's time, but we've had the first text for the gathas in the Avatamsaka Sutra. And the Avatamsaka Sutra is the Kin Hua Ngien. And there's a chapter in the Avatamsaka Sutra that is called Purifying Practices. And that chapter is entirely devoted to gathas, to help the Fourfold Sangha live mindfully throughout the day. And so the gathas are also for lay people. And so there's a gatha for putting on your jewelry if you're going out to a party or something, or put on your makeup and your jewelry. You also have a gatha to read, but that gatha will remind you that these things are only an outer show. So don't be caught in them. And gathas for crossing over a bridge. Many gathas we don't have, they are there. And most of them have in them a vow. And that vow is both for us and for others. Because we must remember that the Avatamsaka Sutra was one of the early Mahayana sutras. And so we have to be careful to remember that our bodhicitta is not just for helping us, but for helping all beings. So we always have the for others. And in Vietnamese, when you read the gatha for shaving your head, Nguyện cho mọi người ha. Yeah. I vow that all people will put an end to their afflictions. But of course when you do that, you also vow that you yourself put an end to your afflictions. Yeah. So when we wash our hands with the gatha, we also say, may all people have hands skilled to protect this planet Earth. But of course we also think about our own hands. We don't think about just other people having hands. So that is the gathas. And if you want to look at the Avatamsaka Sutra, it's called the flower ornament sutra in the English translation. Then I think you can find it and look at that chapter. So today, this is our gatha for the week, and the exercise for our English-speaking friends and our French-speaking friends, and if we have any other language-speaking friends, which isn't Vietnamese, is to be able to make this gatha into a song or a poem that is really easy for you to practice, and to put it into practice. And then if you can let me know about what you've done is wonderful. And if you are Vietnamese speaking, you can help your non-Vietnamese speaking sisters by explaining to them exactly what every word means in the Vietnamese Gatha, so they can grasp the poetry and the meaning. So today let's look at something that is called Công Phu. Công Phu really means work, it means art, it means skill, it means effort. That's how the word is used out in the world. And in English we have a word which is liturgy, which is used in monasteries in the West. And liturgy, actually, it also means work. Work for the people. Laitos is people and ergos is work. So I think that the Christian practitioners, they have a similar idea to Buddhist practitioners, that every day we want to offer our work, and that is our practice. So Công Phu is really the practice, the formal practice that we do together. I remember one time Thai said, looking at the builders building the meditation hall, Thai sees that every day there's another layer of bricks. The meditation hall is being built slowly, but every day we see a little bit more of the meditation hall going up. And that is the work of the masons who are building, the builders. But as practitioners we also have our work, which is our sitting meditation, our chanting and so on. And every day we should see that our building is different from yesterday. If it's always the same and the wall doesn't get any higher, then maybe we should be talking to our mentor about our practice. So I think that we're very lucky. We have a warm meditation hall. It's my great joy in the morning to be able to come into the meditation hall, and I hope it's everybody else's great joy as well. To have the Sangha supporting me, to have the Sangha arranging things so that we have someone sitting at the bell. It's a great blessing, it's a great joy. I remember when I was practicing as a child, as a Christian, we used to say, oh, we love the church, we love the sacred place where we can come and pray. And I feel a little bit about the meditation hall. I love the meditation hall. So I like to get there a little bit early. And when I come into the meditation hall, it's also my joy to be able to touch the earth. Of course, from the moment that I leave my room, and before I leave my room, I don't know when I start to practice meditation. I suppose I start to practice when I wake up in the morning. So there's been all kinds of meditation happening. And then there is the walking meditation that happens to the door, and then coming into the meditation hall. So it's not like I start to meditate when I come into the meditation hall. But it's just that I feel that joy that I'm going to be able to sit and devote this time to my building. So part of that is to be able to touch the earth. And I don't think that we want to say that's everybody's way, because not everybody wants to touch the earth 3 times before they practice sitting meditation. But for me, touching the earth is like yoga. And it puts my body and mind really together. My brain and my heart are on the same level. So somehow I can enter my body, I can enter my heart very easily in that position, and that will help my sitting. But of course I also have to be careful, because I recognize that when I touch the earth, nobody dares walk in front of my head. So I don't want to be an obstruction for people. And that is one reason why I like to come a little bit early, so that I'm not an obstruction when I'm touching the earth. And then I can really enjoy those moments of sitting before the bell is invited. This is why I feel that it's wonderful if the bell team can really be early, because I rely on the bell team quite a bit, and I think the whole Sangha relies on the bell team. The peace and the joy of the bell team, it goes into the sound of the bell, and it goes into the sound of the chanting. So that if the bell team is there early and is really practicing oneness of body and mind, then the whole Sangha will benefit. But if the bell team comes in at the last minute, in a bit of a rush, then there's not enough peace. So that is something that I would like to encourage. And I know that Thai always encouraged me like that, to be really early when I'm inviting the bell. So those moments before the bell is invited is a time for me really to be in my body. Sometimes there is pain in my body, but often when I come and sit, I don't feel pain. I've touched the earth and I'm really there in my body. And that is a great joy. In Sanskrit we have the word kaya sukha. And kaya means body, and sukha means happiness, body happiness. And that is how I would describe those moments of sitting, when my mind and my body are truly united, and that I feel that, that I am totally there in my body in the present moment. So actually kaya sukha, that is body happiness, is also chitta sukha, because the happiness, of course, it goes into your mind also. So usually I don't start my looking deeply until after the sound of the chanting, after the chanting. But sometimes if I feel really calm, I may begin to look deeply as a result of the calmness before the chanting. So now we can look at this chanting, the meditation chant, the morning chant, the evening chant. Thai always taught us that these first 7 sounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are the wake-up sound. So you don't need any other wake-up sound. You don't need to stop the bell and then invite 1. You're just very light, but there's a crescendo. They're louder. So 1 is very light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it gets louder like that. And that's all we need as a wake-up. And then your voice begins to chant. And of course, if you feel if you feel peaceful and relaxed, it comes across in your chanting. Some people, they hokan very, very well, and it gives you energy for the rest of the day. So it's wonderful if a mentor can help the mentees to really make their hokan something that can inspire us. When I first came to Plum Village, Sister Chung Kong was in the lower hamlet looking after this is in the summer opening, looking after the retreatants in the lower hamlet, and Sho'om was in the upper hamlet looking after the retreatants in the upper hamlet, and I was in the upper hamlet for the first 2 weeks of the summer opening. And in England I'd only been to one 5-day retreat and a number of Dharma talks that I gave in England before that. And so I was very new to the practice. But Thai and Sister Chön Khom did not have anyone to help them lead the practice. So Thai had to lead everything in the upper hamlet. Sister Chön Khom had to lead everything in the lower hamlet. And so Thai decided that he would train some of the retreatants. And I was one of them, and Eileen Kira was another. I can't remember, there were 3 or 4 of us. So Thai had to train us and teach us how to invite the bell, so that we could lead the sitting meditation. Otherwise, Thai had to lead the sitting meditation and everything. And also, I think Thai, it's not only that Thai wanted other people to help, but I think Thai also wanted to hand on. He wanted to transmit something to us. So Thai would take us into the meditation hall and show us how to invite the bell. And the most important thing, and for me the most difficult thing in the beginning, was holding the inviter, which wasn't difficult, but not going like that with the inviter on the side of the bell, but going like this. And then the inviter touching just the rim of the bell. So this movement and touching the rim of the bell in the right place was something that wasn't easy. I don't know about people nowadays, the sisters nowadays, if it's easy for you or not to learn that movement. So actually what Thai did, he took hold of my arm, and I held the inviter, and Thai held my arm, and Thai moved like that. And then I got it. And Thai said, now you stay here and you invite the bell 100 times. So I'm sorry for that, because you know we had the meditation hall had the bedrooms on each side, so I'm sorry for the people who was in those bedrooms. Anyway, and so I learned that way. And I said, you need to make this movement because the sound of the bell is like letting a bird out of the cage. And the sound has to go out like that. And if you go like this, then the sound doesn't go out in the same way. So after that Thai listened, said, okay, now you can lead the sitting meditation. And so I said to Thai, oh, how long should we have sitting meditation? I said, oh, about 18 minutes. I don't know why. And then slow walking, and then another 18 minutes. In those days we used to have the children sit with us. The children came to all the activities, so we couldn't sit for too long. So now we have the hokan. We didn't have hokan then. May I say something to the sisters about the hokan in English? please don't force your voice. If your voice is high, let it fly high like a bird, but don't force your voice to be high. And I'm thinking especially about the end of that hokana. Okay. So the sun of insight. And then the problem starts. We go, can direction. And then you're forcing your voice, it doesn't sound beautiful. So you don't have to go up high like that. So the sun of insight can rise, shining in. You don't have to go any higher than that. And it'll sound more natural for many of us. Or if your voice is high and you really want to rise, you can do it naturally. So the sun of insight can rise, shining in. So every direction. So shining is the highest note. Don't go any higher than that. And then go down. Shining in every direction. Okay. There's been a mistransmission in the music somewhere. So I'm trying to say it again. And after we have the hokan, we reply to with the Namo Shakyamunaye Buddhaya. What do we reply? Something like that. Namo Shakyamunaye Buddhaya. Yeah. And so 3 times we should reply. Don't say, oh, this is my sitting, I don't. I say it's like when the geese, the wild geese, a bit dry, huh? When they fly across the sky to migrate, the leader goes honk honk, and then the other birds go honk honk in reply. And it's like that in the Sangha. We honk honk in reply. Yeah, this is maybe that morning we haven't said anything at all. So these are the first words that we say. Homage to Shakyamuni Buddha. And we do that with our whole heart. And something I suggest when people say it's difficult for them, it doesn't have any meaning, they're just saying words. I say, see the Buddha in yourself the first time you recite. And the second time you recite, see the Buddha in the sister who's sitting in front of you. And the third time, you can send your energy to Thai. See Thai is there with you. So that's one way of feeling that is meaningful for you. So now we hear the sound of the bell. So, dear Sangha, there was a time when I used to think that mindfulness concentration, and insight. They're kind of like a path. You start off with mindfulness, and then if you're lucky you will have concentration, and then if you're even luckier you may get some insight. So I used to think that insight is something very high, and maybe I will need decades before I get any insight, because my concentration is not very good. And sometimes even my mindfulness is not very good. So I used to think in those terms. And then one day I was reading a sutra, and a monk was talking to the Buddha, and he said, Lord Buddha, he was very sick. He said, Lord Buddha, I'm not able to practice concentration because my body is too weak. And the Buddha said, what he meant by concentration was probably the 4 jhanas. Tứ thiền, because my body is so weak. So the Buddha said, insight doesn't demand a great deal of concentration. This monk was so unhappy he couldn't practice. He was even thinking to end his life. So the Buddha said, insight doesn't need a great deal of concentration, the kind of concentration where you're not aware that there's a thunderstorm happening. So when I read that, I feel very encouraged that, insight is something that I don't have to wait 20 years for. And this encouraged me to practice the insight meditations that are in the Blooming of the Lotus book. And I feel I benefit and I enjoy. I'm nourished a great deal by those meditations. And now we are trying to make a new English book. And but I think you can still use the old one for the time being. And after I have half an hour, I will choose a meditation from Blooming of the Lotus, and I will practice it for as long as I feel that it's useful for me to practice it. It may be 3 days, or it may be a week, or it may just be 1 day, because some of the meditations are quite long, and so I can't practice the whole thing in one sitting. So that is remind me of the sitting, the guided meditation that Thai introduced. And the first guided meditation that we had was in 1988, and we had a in, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release. And I remember it was in 1988 because we used to, Thai had us sing it while we were sitting on the bus in India. In, out, deep, slow, and ra, shao, cham. Yeah. And in French, Shakespeare, Shakespeare. So we used to practice that guided meditation whenever we did meditation. And then round about 1990, I remember we had another guided meditation. It's the earliest guided meditation I can remember. It's on the 5-year-old child. Seeing myself as a 5-year-old child, seeing my father and my mother as a 5-year-old child. And Thai transmitted that guided meditation to me because I did not have a very good relationship with my father, and it really helped. And I practiced it often for 2 years. And I still practice it and enjoy it very much. And at that time we had some lay people, we had a lay couple who was living in Plum Village, and he was a carpenter, and he helped to build the Turtle Lodge up in the upper hamlet. Yeah, and he and his wife were both very upset about the guided meditation, the 5-year-old child. It was very difficult for them. I don't know why, but maybe they were upset about other things as well, but they said that, they didn't want to stay in the Plum Village tradition because they felt that it was wasting their time to meditate on their father as a 5-year-old child. I think that in the guided meditations, and especially this one, which was one of the earliest guided meditations Thai gave, there is an emotional aspect. I don't know if you were surprised, but in the book Fragrant Palm Leaves, Neove Ko E, Thai talks about Thai's experiences when Thai first was in the United States, and the different breakthroughs that Thai had, the kind of enlightenment that Thai had. And Thai said that this breakthrough, this enlightenment, was expressed in the book A Rose for Your Pocket. So it's quite strange in a way, because A Rose for Your Pocket is about realizing that you have to express your love for your mother now. Don't leave it till late. But that was how Thai expressed his enlightenment. And just as the Buddha expressed his enlightenment in terms of the Four Noble Truths. So that is something quite emotional in that. It's a way of looking after the emotional side of us. And I feel the 5-year-old child is also like that. If we allow our intellect to interfere with what comes up from our store consciousness, then it seems a silly thing to be doing, to meditate on your father as a 5-year-old child. In our neuroscience retreat, I was in a Dharma sharing group online, and one morning I led the 5-year-old child meditation. And in our Dharma sharing group, there was a woman who I think had been abused by her in her childhood, suffered abuse. And she said she'd always found that meditation very difficult. And when she heard me say, breathing in, I see myself as a 5-year-old child, she wanted to turn off the computer. But she said, no, I won't. I will try one more time. And she had a real breakthrough. She said that she practiced that day and had a lot of tears, but she had a breakthrough because of that meditation. So, 2 things. One is, don't feel you have to have the kind of concentration where you can't hear a thunderstorm happening in order to be able to have insight. And the second thing is not to repress emotions during sitting meditation, and to take care of them. I suppose for me that meditation also brings tears to my eyes. I think it's the last sentence which says, seeing the difficulties of my father or my mother in me, I breathe in, and vowing to practice for the transformation of my mother and myself, my father and myself at the same time, for the liberation of my father and myself, my mother and myself, at the same time. And that moves me very deeply. You see at one and the same time you're not a separate self, and at one and the same time that you're not. If your mother and father are not liberated, you can't be liberated either. So this winter we are lucky, we have a guided meditation every week. And obviously that guided meditation is just a taste, and it needs us to continue it in meditation sessions to come in order to deepen it. In our silent meditation. And of course, if our concentration isn't perfect, there will be times when our mind wanders. And when our mind wanders, without making a huge mental effort, we need to come back to what comes up most easily in our store consciousness as far as that object of meditation is concerned. And if there are times in our meditation where we really feel difficulties, where we keep falling asleep, and I've been through those kind of times in my meditation, I found the best cure is to just let myself be. Open my eyes and don't try and meditate anymore. Just enjoy being there, absorbing the Sangha energy and not making any effort. And sometimes I say to myself, okay, fall asleep. You can fall asleep. And I allow myself to fall asleep. And then I find that after sleeping for, as long as you don't fall over, that's a danger. After sleeping for 2 or 3 minutes, my mind is very fresh. And if I try very hard not to sleep, then I just get more and more tired. So, sound of the bell, please. So, dear Sangha, trying to do a guided meditation like the one on your being a 5-year-old child, or the wave and the water, is not possible when I'm in pain. When I feel pain in my body, I just have to take care of the pain. So I can concentrate my meditation to taking care of the pain. I don't try at that time to make myself do a guided meditation that I decided beforehand. And I find that the mindful breathing and the ability to relax and allowing the Sangha energy to penetrate me and to feeling real compassion for myself and sending that compassion to the part of my body that's in pain is very effective. So that is what I do. I don't make myself do a guided meditation when I'm feeling pain. So that far, if there are any questions, please ask. If not, I will continue for another 15 minutes. Okay, no questions, huh? Okay. Now I would like to talk a little bit about reciting the sutra. So when we talk about reciting the sutra, maybe the first thing we need to talk about is language. In Canada, in Quebec, there's a center. It's called Le Village des Érables. Huh? I like that place very much. It's very beautiful in Canada. One time Thai said he's going to send me there to be practice leader. But it didn't happen because it didn't develop as a I became ordained in a nun and it didn't develop as a monastic center, it's a lay center. It was founded by a number of Vietnamese who are living in Canada, who are OI members. And in fact, they were the first OI members to be ordained by Thai in the West. And they practice very, very well. And they really want to have a Plum village in Canada. So they founded in the mountains, in the forests, the Village des Érables. I've been there many times to lead retreats. I used to go at least once a year. And you know that in Canada, anyway, in that part of Canada, is French speaking. You may not straight away recognize the French, it's a little bit different. But it's French speaking. And they also have English speaking there, as well as French speaking. And one thing that always struck me about the OI members in the Village des Érables, well, I'll give you an example. In Vietnamese, there's the term Ngoại Quốc. Ngoại Quốc means, what does it mean? Someone who lives outside my country, huh? Might you say a foreigner if you... I don't like that expression very much, but... Huh? Expatriate. No, it doesn't mean expatriate. It means... So for instance, if I'm talking to a Vietnamese person and I will say to them, oh, thiền sinh ngoại quốc, it will mean to me that what that will mean is thiền sinh ngoại quốc will mean thiền sinh means practitioners and ngoại quốc means who are not Vietnamese. Now that's what ngoại quốc meant to me. So when I was in Canada, I was talking to in Vietnamese to one of these OI members. And I said something like, thiền sinh ngoại quốc. And he said, what do you mean? He said, ngoại quốc, if you use that expression in Canada, what you mean is non-Canadians. So that is an example to show you how the Vietnamese people, or these Vietnamese OI members, they feel they are Canadian. Yeah, they don't feel, oh, I'm Vietnamese. Yeah, they are very proud of being Canadian, and they always, whenever the Village des Érables, it has the mayor come, they always very grateful to him for letting them stay in Canada and enjoy being Canadian. So that is something I recognized about Canada, which I never saw in America, in USA. Anyway, after that, then I was very careful how I used this word, ngoại quốc. Yeah. And when we were in Village des Érables, we always had 3 languages. I cannot, one word that was said in English would be said in Vietnamese, would be said in French. And yeah, and so when we had before the work meditation, everything, it take quite a long time, everything would be in 3 languages. So in Plum Village, I thought, oh, we don't do as well as they do in Village des Érables, as far as 3 languages are concerned. But I also know that in Plum Village, Thai always talked about having 3 languages. We're in France, so we have French, English, and Vietnamese. We have to have Vietnamese because Thai is Vietnamese, and all the teachings are in Vietnamese, so we can't. French, English, Vietnamese. And when we went to Germany, Thai said, now 3 languages. German, English, Vietnamese. And when I was in Thailand, Thai, English, Vietnamese. And German for me wasn't too big a problem because English is also a Germanic language, so I could learn. Thai was a little bit difficult for me. Yeah, but I did try to do my best with Thai. To learn at least enough to be able to say Happy New Year and thank you and excuse me and things like that to the Thai people. And then I remembered something else that Thai had said when I was in Thailand. Thai said that if I were you, when the day for chanting is in French, I would take the French chanting book and follow in French. I wouldn't take the English or the Vietnamese, I'd just take the French. And when the chanting was in Vietnamese, I would take the Vietnamese chanting book and just follow the Vietnamese. And when the chanting was in English, I would take the English book and just follow the English. And Thai said that if there were things I didn't understand, for instance, my French not very good, I didn't understand the French, then after the chanting was over, I would go to the Vietnamese or the English version and I would read over again so that I understood. But I wouldn't, during a French recitation, for example French, I would not be looking at the English. Because it's somehow we're going in different directions. So this is instruction that Thai gave to me. I'm handing it on to you. You can do what you like with it. And when I was in Thailand, it was a little bit difficult because you know what Thai language is written like. Yeah. But anyway, I knew what the sutra was. I think we should be told what sutra we're reading. I knew what it was. And of course I know Pali, so I could pick up some of the Pali that is in the Thai, which you probably couldn't do. But also when I heard a word repeated, and I knew the English, I also know, oh, that's what the 5 ways of anger or something like that. By the sound of the bell, I would know which way of anger we got to and things like that. And then after that, I had a Thai sister come and help me with May the Day Be Well. That Sister Yiem taught us to sing May the Day Be Well in Thai. And I had a Thai sister and come and tell me each word, what does each word mean? So that when I was chanting, I wrote it down and then I remembered it and I could feel more one with the chanting. So that is another aspect of our multicultural, multi-language Sangha. Another thing is that when we listen in different languages, we do learn something. We do pick up some language of another language. And Thai always wants us to have at least some knowledge of 3 languages while we're in whatever center we happen to be in. United States, I don't know what they're going to do about this, because maybe Spanish, huh? Before we should also look at the practice of kinhan. Kin means a thread, like you put beads on a thread, and each step is like a bead on a thread. Han means walking, slow walking. I think the slow walking of Plum Village is quite special. In China, they walk very fast, and in Thailand, they walk very, very slow. And we kind of do something in the middle in Plum Village. That is, breathing in, we start with our left foot. Breathing in, we place our left foot. And breathing out, we place our right foot. The practice of Kinhan is very nourishing for me. It's a time when I feel really one with the Sangha. I can flow with the Sangha. There are times like when Brother Phaphu was sharing in the first Dharma talk, he feel irritated with the person in front for going too slowly. And I've also been through that one time. And I was with doing Kinhan with Thai in a retreat somewhere, and the practitioner in front of Thai was going very, very, very slowly. And then Thai kind of overtook that practitioner, and because we were going around the outside of the room, so if you go on the inside of the cushion, you can make another circle, and Thai walked walked inside the cushion. But I think we can't all do like that. So the first thing is just to recognize you can take small steps, and the person in front of you will not be such an obstacle. But if there is someone who's going really slowly, then it does it takes up the flow out of things. So we don't force our breath, we just normal breathing in, and really make sure that as soon as our in-breath stops, our next foot starts to move. Our breathing and our step, they really go together. If not, then we will go too slow or too fast. And in practice, Thai once taught me, for using Gatha when we're going around in Kinhin, is to use the Gatha in, out, deep, slow. In, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile. And Thai said, don't keep using it in English. He said, after using it in English, use it in Vietnamese. Vào ra. After Vietnamese, French, j'inspire, j'expire. And so we have your mind, if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, it becomes mechanical. You don't put your heart into it. So when you change the language, it's less mechanical. It wakes you up. So that is what I normally do when I practice Kinhin. Yeah, that is, I think, all I wanted to say today. If there's any urgent question, I'm happy to answer it, or suggestion. If not, we can end here.